faces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. Offensitation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk, where we leave the emotions at the doorstep, especially during the playoffs, and we keeps it 100% real. And I really like these topics. I think you guys are gonna like it too. I think I might steal a couple of these, Ray. I'm not gonna lie to you. I might put a couple of these on unscripted because they're fire, and I want to kind of get opinions on this stuff too. But we'll see if you let me do that. I know it's copyrighted, but
we're doing this together, you know that.
Hey, say what's up to the people, Ray.
What's going on? What's going on? A big weekend that we just got here. We're gonna get into it. I'm sure there'll be a bunch of real talk. So again, leave your feelings and emotions at the door because we're gonna get right to it.
Ain't that the truth? All right, and our lovely but talented production / co-host / and everything in between, Tony Hollinsworth. Say what's up to the people.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Is a great weekend, and I say that because two of the biggest quarterbacks in the NFL both got knocked out of the playoffs this weekend, and it's just great. Like even though Dallas isn't even in the playoffs anymore, you couldn't make the playoffs more perfect just because Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady aren't in there anymore. So it's a great weekend. It's a great NFL season.
I got to be honest with you guys. This season of sports, just in general, sports in general, is just so perfectly aligned. I don't hear no Rolling Tides. I don't hear no Lakers.
No go Pack.
I don't hear no Celtics. I don't hear no, Tom Brady and goats and other farm animals and Aaron Rodgers. I don't hear none of that. It's just, I don't know, man. It's so weird in sports. It's like we're in uncharted territory, and I don't know where to go. I'm like a kid in a new playground. I don't know if y'all feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, it's so great that I don't have to hear "Go Pack Go" or Aaron Rodgers is to go. Or wait, no. What's the phrase? Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. I don't have to hear that.
Yeah, they need to change that. Instead of bad, just insert the word sad.
Yes.
He's a sad man. Because he looked very sad towards the end of that game. Like he just knew that, his legacy is just slowly evaporating like the sands of time. And he can't turn that hourglass over fast enough to recapture his youth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Tom Brady, who I feel like, honestly, I think last year he should have just hung it up and ran out, riding it, throwing the trophy across the river to the other dude on the other. He should have went out on top. Just that Tom Brady, the one that could barely make it to the news conference because he's so enamored that he can't walk. That's when Tom Brady should have called it a day. I feel like he's just kind of staying a little too far, and they don't know if he's going to come back next year. He's under contract to, for another year or so, but Bruce Arians is going to let him fill it out, and Gronk doesn't know if he's going to come back. He's got to fill it out. They don't know what players they can bring back. They don't think they can bring back everybody. So now that's not a reload. It's a retool or whatever you want to call it. But I think that Brady's chances are not looking as good as what they used to be. Do you think that his chances are taking a knock? I mean, I guess that's my takeaway, right? I think Tom Brady's chances of getting another ring are slowly taking a knock. What do y'all think?
No, I agree. I think, let me first say, I completely disagree that he should have walked away when he was on top. I think he was looking for an opportunity to try and go back to back, which would have been pretty amazing at his age. He did lead the league in passing, yardage, attempts. He had a bunch of different things that he played great. As far as I'm concerned, he was the MVP this year. So I think he definitely had the talent. I think they had a ton of turmoil going into that game. They lost a bunch of receivers. They lost linemen. Their defense was like the first time since week 1 they had all played together. So I just think it was a tough circumstances. And then his backup right tackle went down, and that's not the defensive line you want to have your tackles going down against. But I've seen, some more clips and different things from him since, and I would agree. It doesn't sound very promising that it will return. I don't think he has anything to prove. I think win or lose based on Aaron Rodgers' performance, all of those comparisons died this weekend for good, thank God. But overall, I think he did the best he could. But it was a heck of a weekend. Every game came down to basically the last play. It was super competitive on all fronts. Upsets, big time players making big time plays. Defenses went on vacation early for some teams, and some of them ended up staying on vacation. But overall, I just thought it was a great weekend for the NFL. And if there's any doubt, NFL is still king when it comes to sports in America.
Amen. Tony, what's your weekend takeaway?
Yeah, mine, of course, Aaron Rodgers lost. And Coach and I talked about it last show on Bring It. This weekend showed who Aaron Rodgers truly is. Aaron Rodgers is a regular season quarterback. He is the Matt Ryan of the NFC North. He can get you the wins in the regular season. He'll go out, he'll dominate the Rams in the regular season. You give him a star-studded defense that they spent all this money on. 2 years ago in 2019, or 3 years ago now in 2019, when Matt LaFleur became the head coach, they won 13 games, only lost 3, lost in the NFC Championship to the 49ers. Then they move on. Very next year, okay, now they're clicking. Now they got everything together. Now Aaron Rodgers has 3 running backs and a good defense. What do? 13-3 again, number 1 seed. You lose again because you refuse to audible and run the damn ball. Now you're running more with a broken toe than you did when you were completely healthy. No, and then once again, you win 13 games. You're the number 1 seed, and you get bounced in the very first round. To me, this shows that Aaron Rodgers is not an elite quarterback. He's not. You followed in Brett Favre's footsteps. You did what Brett Favre couldn't do. You won a Super Bowl your first 6 years of being an actual starter and being in the league in the NFL, and you have perpetually, dropped it ever since. You've come close, you've sniffed it, but you can't finish. And that to me kind of shows his legacy. He's a great regular season quarterback. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Peyton Manning. You're going to go to the playoffs with him. You're going to be a contender with him. But unless you have all those right pieces there together for him to be able to do something, it is not going to happen. So to me,
it's almost like he needs to go to another team to get that fresh start, like Peyton Manning did with the Broncos, to see if he can get another ring. Because I don't think he gets it in Green Bay.
No, to me, because of the fact Green Bay is going to be cap strapped because of Aaron Rodgers, because he wants to be the highest paid quarterback, but then mad when they don't sign big free agents to big money. You don't have enough money to re-sign Aaron, and Aaron doesn't want to stay there, and you don't have enough money to re-sign Devontae because Devontae is going to want another big contract. This was it, and they completely dropped the ball.
And then we go down below to Victor. How you doing, my brother? Say what's up to the people, and what's your weekend takeaway?
What's up, everybody? Man, my weekend, it was good. For the first time, I can't even remember where I watched all 4 games from the beginning to the end. Usually you have to cut it off in the 4th quarter or at the beginning and change the channel and might go back to it to see how it looks. But actually, it was a good weekend. I enjoyed the Saturday games. I enjoyed the Sunday games. The only disappointment was, of course, I'm a Tampa Bay fan that we lost. That's really the only disappointment. Other than that, I mean, you take Burrow. You got to give – I think a lot of people don't give him his respect. I don't know why. Then when they look at him, they don't see him as the legit quarterback. Like they put Justin Herbert. Well, Justin Herbert's better because he's mobile, he's this. I mean, that guy got hit what 9 times, 10 times?
9 times against Tennessee, and still won.
And still just
So that's not about your Herbert's on the couch somewhere, chilling.
So I got to give him finally his flowers because he did his thing. Yeah, I mean the whole Green Bay thing. I said it. Matter of fact, I think I said it on this show. I was like, "Hey, they're gonna lose out the second round." Like it was never. I never thought they was good. I was never on the Aaron Rodgers train. But I mean, other than that, I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Let's talk about surprises. Surprises that occurred during the weekend. I thought the biggest surprise for me was how well the Bills played against the Kansas City Chiefs, and how, more specifically, how well Josh Allen played. His numbers were, in terms of his stats, were exactly identical to Patrick Mahomes. As a matter of fact, he actually had one more passing touchdown than Mahomes. He had 4, and Mahomes had 3. I mean, those guys were playing, and I think at some point we got to have to start putting Josh Allen in that type of conversation with these guys. At some point, I think you do, and I think he proved it. I mean, no, he proved it. He twice. He did it twice.
Coach is a little skeptical of Josh Allen.
I need to hear.
I can tell you.
You can't deny. You can't deny him.
No, answer this, Jay.
You can't. No, it's not. Because look what he did against New England. Was that an accident?
No, listen, Jay. I don't care about New England.
I know you don't care about it, but it's still.
And I'm waiting. Look, I got. We have.
You talk about not putting respect on people's name, Coach. You're not giving enough respect to people who are doing it and performing at a high level.
Time out, Jay. First off, let me give respect to for Josh Allen. I said he was a good quarterback. Now he upgraded to great. He did some things. Don't get me wrong. But let me ask you this. And this is everybody, Ray, Tony, and we're going to go to 2 games. When it was 2 minutes left with Tom Brady had the ball, was you not nervous that he still had a chance?
You're always nervous with Tom Brady.
Okay, so stop. So even with Pat Mahomes, did you, in your mind, you still had that little doubt like,
not like Brady. The way that Kansas City game went, it was tit for tat the whole way through that game. Tit for tat. So you had to eat the same amount on both sides.
Jay, time out. Was you not nervous when Pat Mahomes got the ball that he can go down there and score? Yes or no?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the Bills' defense. You already knew they were tired. You know they were tired. Come on, man.
Ray,
you don't tell me that defense wasn't tired?
Ray, yes or no? Was you not nervous? Like you was like he still can. Tony?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Now, let me ask you this, Jay. Were you more nervous with Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes? Or was it the same?
For me, it was the way the game was going, it was the same, to be honest with you. They were both throwing it quite well.
What about you, Ray?
So I'll say this. I would say, I don't remember what the time is. I would say when Josh Allen got the ball back after – I think Mahomes hit Tariq.
Yeah.
I was nervous. When Pat Mahomes got the ball with 13 seconds, I wasn't super nervous. I didn't think there was a way. And I was in the group chat and somebody said something about, guess we won't have a walk-off kickoff. And I was like, there's still a chance. And I was kind of joking, but there was still that chance the way the game was going. But I would say once Allen hit the corner post or the post pattern, I didn't want him with the ball again. But when Mahomes got it with 13 seconds, I was pretty sure the game was over.
And let's understand some things. So I want to make sure we understand clarity here. I'm not saying by any means that Josh Allen is where Patrick Mahomes is, because Patrick Mahomes has a Super Bowl, and that's undeniable. What I'm saying is that you got to start putting respect on Josh Allen's name. That I think he's proven that he is, he's going to eventually get into those conversations based off of what he's performing.
Real quick, I have a question for Coach. So you seem to be hesitant on crowning Josh Allen. Where is he in your quarterback hierarchy in the NFL right now?
And that's the thing. I think he's second tier. And
wow.
Honestly, but listen,
he outperformed Mahomes in his second tier. That's crazy to me. And he did it away. He did it away, and he outperformed him. He got one more touchdown. That's outperforming. I don't care how you look at it. It's still outperforming.
Who's in your top tier? I just want to hear that.
Wow.
It's only two people. It's Brady and it's Pat Mahomes. Because regardless of the situation, and even if you go back to the Brady game, McVay said it just like this. For 40 seconds, we got to score. We got to try to end this game now, because if we go overtime, we will lose this game. I think I just think when I look at Josh, and it's just might be me. Don't get me wrong. I think Josh Allen from the beginning of the season, what I said to now, he has proven that he's way better. He has improved. So I would say he is a good, or you want to say a great quarterback, but I don't put him in the elite category because the elite category is without a doubt, no shadow of doubt, he's going to win that game by any means necessary. He did have a good game, Jay. He had a great game, Jay. He had a phenomenal game, Jay. But he didn't have a Pat Mahomes game.
So he doesn't score. He doesn't score on that last drive. We're not having this conversation, are we?
And keep in mind.
But if you say that, if you say that, if
he doesn't do it, we're not having this conversation.
But Jay, if we're really gonna go that far, if the kicker for Kansas City would have made the field goal or the extra point, we wouldn't have this conversation.
Yeah, but Josh Allen.
I just think that he's still gonna get another Super Bowl before we go all the way in on that.
I don't know how you miss a 47-yard field goal short. Like, you're a professional football kicker.
But again, don't get me wrong. I think Josh Allen is a great quarterback.
And he runs better than Mahomes. And he runs better than Mahomes. And keep in mind, Josh Allen.
He is the leading rusher, by the way, on Buffalo Bills. He is the leading rusher. I just want to put that out there.
Who was the leading rusher yesterday?
I'm just saying the team as a whole.
So you think Pat Mahomes is a better runner than Josh Allen when they call run plays for Josh Allen?
Oh, no, without a doubt. Pat Mahomes, that ain't his job. But I will say he's been look, how many times he been to the AFC Championship?
We're talking about this year. We're talking about this year.
No, you can say that. All right, how many Super Bowls he got?
And I'm not taking anything away from Pat Mahomes, but
how many Super Bowls does he got? Because last time I checked, Aaron Rodgers made a lot of AFC Championship games.
No.
And he ain't got but one ring.
And you know who stopped him? Who stopped him 2 of the years?
I get it. That's my point. That's my point. Who stopped? What? Brady stopped him too. Brady stopped Patrick Mahomes too.
Who stopped
Brady stopped Patrick Mahomes too.
Who stopped him 2 years? Tony, who stopped Brady 2
Well, let's see. Brady's kind of an older guy, and Patrick Mahomes is really young. So he has no chances. But let's be honest. He ain't going there beating Brady.
But I want to say, look, who stopped Pat Mahomes for 2 of the 4 years?
Who beat Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
Huh?
Who beat Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
Tom Brady.
Which is the same one that beat Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl.
Who beat Tom Brady's the only one that beat Pat Mahomes in the AFC Championship and in the Super Bowl.
Well, we don't know that yet because Cincinnati hasn't played him yet.
I mean, but listen, Tom Brady shouldn't be in this conversation. Like, Tom Brady's Tom Brady.
I'm not putting Tom Brady in that conversation.
Allen conversation. So you have him second tier. So you put him in the same tier as what? Herbert and Rodgers.
No. I'm not even. No, I would look.
No, you put Patrick Mahomes at Tom Brady's level. That's ridiculous. That's just dumb.
Who's in your Josh Allen tier? I'm just curious.
Can you really say that though? Because Patrick Mahomes is doing stuff that Tom Brady hasn't even done. He's been to 4 AFC championships in a row.
And how many years?
You know what? Jim Kelly did too. And how many did Jim Kelly walk away with?
Right.
Jim
Kelly with 4 straight Super Bowls. How many rings he walked away with?
What do you think Tom Brady would do with a Tyreek Hill and we've seen what he did with Gronk. Imagine if Tom Brady had a Tyreek Hill along with Gronk all those years.
No,
think about it. He had a Welker and a Gronkowski.
It wouldn't have worked.
Walker is
Tony, stay on planet Earth, Tony. You can't say Tyreek Hill is Wes Welker. That's ridiculous.
Right. It would.
That's ridiculous.
Honestly, truthfully, if you look Tyreek Hill, it wouldn't work with Brady because Brady need route runners. And don't get me wrong, Tyreek
can't run routes.
Tyreek run routes better than Randy Moss did.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
But you got to think though, is Tyreek really known for that, or is Tyreek known for just
route runner? So you're inferring that Tyreek Hill is not a route runner. That's what you're inferring.
Stop. First off,
I didn't say it, Vic. You said it.
No. What I'm talking about is listen. If you look at Tampa Bay, and since we all of a sudden we went back on Tom Brady, I thought we was going away from him, but we had to bring him back in.
Yeah,
I didn't bring him back in.
I tried to set him out here, and then you said something.
I said don't put Patrick Mahomes in that category as Tom Brady. That's ridiculous. It's almost an insult. It's an insult to Tom Brady and his legacy to do that.
Okay.
How?
Okay.
Right now, yes.
No, stop.
Right now, it's an absolute insult.
Stop.
Patrick Mahomes has been to 4 AFC championships 4 years in a row. How many Super Bowls he got?
One. Because he.
Okay, so then you don't need to talk about Tom Brady right now.
Well,
Patrick Mahomes is more in the same level as Aaron Rodgers, given how many times they've been there and walked away with squat.
First off, we can't say 4. Let's say 3 because we can't predict the future yet to this Sunday. Now, if he comes
you're looking past that whole Cincinnati
if
game.
he goes in there Sunday and he wins the Super Bowl, that's 2 out of 4. And guess what? The only guy that beat him is Tom. That's why. Listen. Tom is number 1. You got Patrick Mahomes. Hey.
Oh, now you put him at the second tier. The first you had him at the first tier. Now we're going to second tier.
No, he's in the same tier.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes second tier, which is good. That's where he needs to be.
If you want to put Patrick Mahomes in second tier, he's in there by himself. And then
I don't know about it by himself. I think he's got company there.
I think
think about it.
I think he's got company there.
Because think about it. Who stopped Patrick from even going to his first Super Bowl? Tom Brady. Who did Patrick finally beat when he didn't have to deal with Tom Brady? He beat the 49ers. Who did Patrick Mahomes lose to when he finally got to his second Super Bowl? He lost to Tom Brady.
So
that's still a lot. He's only been a starter 4 years, and he's been close to the championship, if not in the championship, every damn year he's been a starter.
And he's also
that's better than Brady.
Offensive weapons almost every single year, so it does help to have the whole package.
Okay,
we haven't seen him. We saw him in the Super Bowl when he didn't have a great offensive line, and he looked like trash.
Yeah, but I mean, how many quarterbacks do you see though that are going to be great with a terrible offensive line?
Tom Brady's line wasn't very good this past weekend, and he kept them close. It looked bad early, but he figured it out.
Side. That was his right side. He still had his left and his center.
Von Miller was doing work on the left side. What do you mean?
All right, hey, it's not about Tom Brady. They lost. So again, we start over. Josh Allen played great. It's funny how when we talk about Tom Brady, and I put Pat Mahomes in the same category with Tom Brady, and you argue me down, but you push Josh Allen, which how long has Josh Allen been in the league?
No, I never said I put Josh Allen with anybody. All I said was that he should be in the conversation. That was a conversation.
4 years. Pat Mahomes been in it 4 years. He's been to the AFC Championship 4 years. So therefore, Josh is not in that category yet until he goes to the AFC Championship.
So would you say
I agree. I'm not putting Josh Allen in the same category as Pat Mahomes. I'm just saying that he should start getting into the conversations of, hey, we got to start taking Josh Allen a little bit more seriously. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all I was saying. You started putting him in tears. I don't know, Vic.
If you swap them, you think Josh Allen gets Kansas City to the championship game how many times in these last 4 years if he's there instead of Mahomes?
I agree with that.
No.
I'm asking.
He outperformed him. No, he outperformed him. He outperformed Patrick Mahomes.
You don't think he gets them there at all?
Outperformed him.
No, because and Jay, you got to think about it too. How many times does that happen though? How many times? And I'm not saying that for this
specific game. All I'm saying is that he should be in the conversation that we should take Josh Allen a little bit more seriously. That's all I was saying. Y'all started saying right.
You're right, Jay. We take Josh Allen a little bit more serious.
There you go, Vic. That could have been said about 5 or 10 minutes ago.
All right,
I'm glad you joined back on planet Earth with me. Hey, I'm sorry. I don't know where to even go with that now. Hey, listen, we're going to move on to the next topic. We spent a lot of time on this. Wait, did everybody give their surprises? Or am I skipping over people? I don't know if I think I'm saying my surprise. We went all the way left. Let me go back to Ray. Let's pick up there. Who's your surprise for the weekend?
My biggest surprise, and this is kind of the piggyback on what Tony said, was I was really surprised how bad or how underwhelming Aaron Rodgers was. You play all year to get the 1 seed because you want people to come play in Lambeau in the wintertime. That's the whole point of trying to get the 1 seed. And he did that, and he looked average at best. He missed a bunch of throws. I don't know that I ever saw him run or scramble out of the pocket, which we saw Mahomes do. We saw Burrow do. We even saw Tom Brady step up at times and move around. I don't want to say he looked disinterested, but he came in like, oh, they're just going to roll over. This is Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah. Like, I don't take Jimmy seriously. And he just didn't. I don't know what happens when he gets to the playoffs, but he was a completely different quarterback. And coming in with and we talked about it on the show Thursday about who has like the most pressure. And most everybody was in the same ballpark that Aaron Rodgers had the most pressure coming into this week as he was supposed to be and likely will be the MVP. He has a pretty bad playoff record. His one NFC championship win was against Caleb Haney when Jay Cutler decided he just didn't want to play for the second half and rode a bicycle. Like, that's your claim to fame. I just thought with everything and with how brash and arrogant he is, with the COVID stuff earlier this year, with the stuff we've heard from him on his Pat McAfee show, just constantly talking and throwing shots at the president, I just thought we would get a much better motivated Aaron Rodgers. And
so let me ask you a question based off what you're saying. So, and I agree with you. He had a very lackluster performance. Do you think that if he somehow or another pulls off the MVP and gets that trophy, does it take away from the validity of the regular season MVP, given what he did in the playoffs?
I would say I don't think anybody, and you know how history, we forget things. I don't think anybody is going to look at this year's MVP in like present day and be like applauding him for it. Like, I think it'll feel really empty and really hollow. Like, yeah, he had a great regular season, but what did he do? Like, what did it really mean? So I agree. I think it will significantly lose its value. And I promise you today, there's a bunch of voters, even though it is a regular season award, and we've had this issue in all sports for a long time, that are probably thinking, I probably should have voted for the guy in Tampa.
So let's be honest. The only really, in my opinion, the only MVP that should really have a lot of weight is the Super Bowl MVP.
But it's
you want at the highest level. You want at the highest level. You're the most valuable player at the highest level.
But it's two different awards, though, Jay.
No, I get it. No, another two different awards. I'm saying the Super Bowl MVP should have obviously has more validity than what the regular season has. Because the regular season, I mean, it don't mean anything. It just doesn't mean anything.
But we say that. And I get crucified when I say, man, this don't really count, because a lot of people, you take the usual suspects, you take Tampa Bay, you take the Rams, you take Green Bay, right? If the Rams lose Sunday, it's a losing season for them because they already knew they were going to make the playoffs. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
I guess to my point is, if you take Aaron Rodgers and he has the regular season MVP, which he most likely probably will. And then let's say Kansas City makes it and wins the Super Bowl. Okay, let's just say that hypothetically. And Patrick Mahomes wins the Super Bowl MVP. Do you think that Aaron Rodgers would gladly swap that trophy because it doesn't mean anything for the other trophy?
I agree with you, but again,
I mean, I'm just saying that's how I think it looks like. You know, I mean,
but if you take the 4 teams now, the 49ers and the Bengals, they're just playing with house money. Because no one picked them to be here. So
I agree.
Every game that they won, that's a win. It's the Rams and the Chiefs that you're supposed to be in the Super Bowl. Like, that's what you were picked from the beginning to be in the Super Bowl. So
nah, you can't say that. The Rams ended up being the 3 seed.
But no, stop. It's not what they.
No, actually, the Rams weren't supposed to be in the Super Bowl. The Bucks were supposed to be in the Super Bowl. Everybody was riding the Bucks.
Jay.
They were all riding the Bucks hard.
Everybody, listen.
I said Rams. You know what? I said the word Rams winning the Super. And you know what? You know the look I got from people. Oh yeah, the Rams. No, they're not. Everybody in the morning show is picking the Bucks because it's Tom Brady, and nobody goes to the Bucks against Tom Brady. It's stupid.
Jay, listen.
Yeah, I got them looks.
Jay, listen. You had at the beginning of the season, during the season, you had the Chiefs, you had the Bills. At one point you heard the Patriots, you heard the Bucks. You heard the Rams and the Packers. Those were teams legit that you said, hey, they're battling for the the NFC Championship, the AFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl. Right or wrong. No one said the Bengals. No one said the 49ers. You and you Cowboy fans, because y'all delirious. Y'all said the Cowboys.
Oh, see that's a cheap shot. That's you know what, Coach?
Coach, I never said that.
You didn't have to say that.
You can go back and look at all the tapes. I never said that.
No. You know what, Coach? You done. We're gonna put a pin in that one because we gotta move this show along. You done hurt my feelings, and that was wrong. That was wrong, Coach.
But to be honest with you, that's the thing. Like
I think you were honest when we talk about the Cowboys. I think you were honest.
I think it's levels. It's levels to just like we were saying. We were talking about tiers of quarterbacks. Certain teams, it's levels that we knew for a fact this is where they was gonna stop at. They weren't going any farther. Regardless of the situation, even if Tampa Bay would have made the Super Bowl and lost, that's still a considered losing season because you're supposed to win it.
But I think that's only because of Tom Brady. And I think
I agree with you.
Because of Matt Stafford, I don't think most people put that pressure on LA in their first year because it was Matt Stafford. And most people, Matt Stafford is one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks maybe in the history of the NFL based on the way people talk about him and act like he's just been trashed because he was in Detroit for so long. So you bring in Odell after what's his name went down? The receiver went down. I can't think of his name.
Robert Woods.
Robert Woods. Thank you, Bob Woods. After he went down and they brought Odell in, who basically was given away from Cleveland, I think and then they brought in Von Miller, mixing all that together. There was a time people thought that the Cardinals were a better team, that they might have been the third best team in that division at one point. So I just don't know. Maybe coming into the year they felt that way, but I think overall it was. I think had they lost to Tom Brady, I think even in that game, had it gone to overtime and Tom Brady pulled it out, I don't think people would be killing the Rams the way that we're killing the Packers because the Packers were expected to win. And I don't think the Rams were really viewed that same way.
All right, we're going to put a pin in that one. Move on to Tony real quick. Yeah, man, he was a really good runner. He was a good runner. Tony, what's your surprise over the weekend, brother? I think you're muted, brother.
Oh, I already said mine. I said the fact that, Brady and Rodgers are out of the playoffs, which for me, I'm ecstatic about. This is pretty much as perfect as the playoffs can get. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, and Anthony Price, that's what I was talking about. I think right now they said they're retooling and not rebuilding, so we'll have to wait and see what they do.
Yeah, I think Tampa and Green Bay will both look very different next year because of cap situation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get more to that when we talk about Brady and Rodgers specifically. But all right, Coach, what's your surprise, brother?
Man, the defense, the secondary, defensive coordinators, like defensive calls, like from the Patriots, for the Buccaneers game, from the Kansas City and the Bills game. It was like, what are we doing here? So that was mine.
Mac Jones we're not talking about Mac Jones right now.
Do you think that it was you blaming the defense, or do you think it was just great offensive play and fatigue?
No, I just think it was just bad. I think it was just bad calls, bad coverage. We could go to the Tampa Bay game. I don't know. I think it was second down. You send a corner blitz and leave their best receiver open one-on-one with a safety. Like you shouldn't have called that. Now to go over the best receiver. I can understand if it was maybe the tight end or maybe the third receiver on that team, but not the best. Then when you go back and you look at the Kansas City Bills game, you go from first, old boy was in cover 3 and he fell down because he was playing inside leverage. He should have been outside leverage trying to push that receiver to the safety anyway, but instead he was inside leverage. Dude did a stutter thinking he was going to go out, and he tripped over his own feet and hit him with the post. But then you go and then the very next drive with Tyreek Hill, you're in man press and you're in trail technique on the outside. You should have been in the inside, protect the middle of the field. You never give someone that fast the middle of the field, especially when you got two high safeties and all they're doing is just getting over the top.
Hey, we saw a comment. I want to comment this real quick. They were talking about Jimmy G because it is kind of a fascinating thing. Talking about Jimmy G messing up and they're still winning. I'll say this. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I really think that Debo, Elijah Mitchell, and that defense is really masking his imperfections. What do y'all think?
100%. It was 3rd and 7 on the biggest play of the game, and they ran a draw to Debo.
Right.
Like they knew we're not going to let Jimmy throw this ball and lose this game.
But
So I agree 100%. He made 2 big throws. But
honestly, truthfully, if you look at Aaron Rodgers' stats, those were on his fault, like the ones that was incomplete. But if you look at Jimmy's stats, the ones that were incomplete, those were drops because he hit the tight end 2 times in the helmet. You can't.
he hit Kittle wide open once. Right?
like one thing about it is he made think about Jimmy. Jimmy's gonna give you 4 good ones, and he's also gonna give you one of them. Oh gosh.
Yeah, like what the hell? He's gonna give you Ryan Tannehill or something.
Like he's gonna give you one. Like he's gonna give you that one, but he's gonna have 4 or 5. It's like, oh, okay.
Hey, what game was that? I think it was the Titans game where the dude snapped the ball and he wasn't looking, and the ball went like 10 feet behind him, and I think they wound up turning the ball over. Y'all remember that game? I want to say it was Tennessee, wasn't it?
Is Tennessee? Weekend? I think Tennessee and the Rams both.
I would say the Rams. I know that was one of the turnovers.
I think the one I'm talking about, I think is Tennessee. I think where he was talking to the offensive line, and the guy he snapped the ball, and the ball went right by his head, and they wound up turning over turned over, and it was a fumble. So I think it was Tennessee and Tannehill that did that, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, either way, the Rams did because the Rams had literally just gotten the play from Tampa Bay, and then immediately gave it back to him when they did that.
Yeah, that was crazy. All right, we're going to move on. I'm sure Greg will be back with us, or maybe he's gone. I don't know what he's doing.
Coach will be back. Oh, yeah.
Hey, Joe, we're going to kind of get more into – yeah, there's Coach.
I'm back,
Did I get your surprise, Coach? Did I get yours? I know you kind of left. I don't know if I got yours, though, or not. I got your surprise for the weekend?
Yeah, I just said that there's the terrible calls from the defense.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, I just want to make sure I didn't skip over you. So, hey, now we're going to get on to the individual quarterbacks themselves in terms of Brady and Rodgers. And we'll start off with Brady first. Like I said, I think Brady went 30 for 54. He threw 329, and he had a pick and a touch with 1 fumble with a 72 passer rating. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, they're very pedestrian numbers, honestly. I think Brady, I think he is a master comeback. Let's not get it twisted. He is a master comeback. But I think if they start taking, players away from him, if they can't get them all into contract, I think Brady's going to start significantly hurting. I don't think he makes it back. It just depends on how they retool it, right? I don't know. How do you feel about that, Ray?
So I agree. I know we talked about it here. We've talked about it on the show for a while as far as all the potential quarterback movement. This was one I don't think we really talked about would be if he comes back to play. He's a California guy. San Francisco hasn't exactly loved their quarterback situation. And I think a lot of people took discounts this year, signed some 1-year deals, and they're not going to be able to do that again. You look at Sue, you look at Godwin, you look at some other players on that defense, and I just don't – they're going to be a different team. Whereas this year they brought basically their whole starting group back. They're not going to be able to do that. I think Fournette's going to want more money. He's played well the last 2 years. So it'll be interesting to see. I would hate to see Tom retire like this because I don't know that we got a chance to really Kobe him or have him walk off and give him the credit he deserves in like a moment where even like Ben, even though Ben was pretty awful this year, it was kind of like a swan song tour. Drew Brees kind of had that. So I would feel a little cheated, a little jaded if we didn't get to do that for Tom because I think if anybody, he deserves it the most. But I think he has some hard decisions ahead of him. And I don't know what the solution is. I don't think they'll bring Godwin back off the ACL, and I don't think he's going to want to play. I think he was franchise tagged this year or on a 1-year deal, one or the other. So I think he has a lot to look at. And I think we saw in this game the talent is low at the receiving positions. Gronk's talking about he's unsure. I think it's what Gronk said before. If Brady comes back, I think we might get another Gronk year because he looked pretty good at a number of times. But at the same time, I think that offensive line is going to need to be shored up more because that shot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That shot he took by Von Miller, and in general, it's been a consensus across his career. If you can pressure him with 4, it's difficult. And so if you can pressure him with 4 and there's not a lot of people that can get open quickly, I think that's tough. So I hope he comes back. It sounds like the family's going to be a lot more of a factor in this upcoming decision. We saw Giselle at the game, but she's been really clear about how she feels about it. So I hope we see him come back one more year. I would be open to him going and playing somewhere else, even maybe with more talent. But I think it's up in the air, and I'd say at this point it's 50-50 for him.
Yeah, I think at this point, I still feel like he should have retired on top, man, and just go out with your legacy and, the way it was. Not that his legacy is going to be hurt, because it's not. He's got, but I just like to see people go out at the very highest level of the game and just go off into the sunset. Now, at the worst, he may just get, more of a pedestrian was, not getting the big show. And I don't know. I just think it's better when you go out on top like that. But Tony, what do you think? What's next for Tom Brady?
I mean, to me, I think he kind of retires, like because you notice with a lot of these quarterbacks when, because for the longest time, you think about it, what did Tom Brady always say? I'm playing into my 50s. Like that's happening. I'm not going anywhere different. I am playing into my 50s. And now
he's thinking differently.
He's a little bit more insecure, and you got to think about it. He's going to get to be able to spend more time with his kids if he does, which he hasn't gotten a lot of chance to do. They're older now. He's getting older. He's done everything you can do. You own every statistical record in the NFL as far as passing yards, completions, touchdowns. Since I'm not the biggest Tom Brady fan, you've also been sacked the most times. Thankfully, you broke Brett Favre's record in that regard. But I mean, think about it. There's not much more Tom has to do to prove that he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And like y'all said, Tampa Bay's gonna be strapped a little bit for cash. They paid Mike Evans. They had to franchise tag Godwin, and you still have a lot of other guys that are gonna want money. Ndamukong Suh's getting old. How do you replace that type of caliber? Defensive tackle. Your offensive line. You may or may not want a little bit more depth now because they've been hurt, and we've seen what will happen with that. So to me, I don't know if Tom continues to want to take that hit. I don't think Giselle's going to let him, as much as I think he would love to play into his 50s. I don't necessarily think he needs to. And I mean, right. He doesn't have to. Like he by no means has to.
And I definitely think the offensive line shoring that up is so much more important than trying to get him weapons, because he does not do well when you put him under pressure. He just does not like being uncomfortable. Sorry, so we got a new guy on here, Joel. What do you think, man? What's your surprise? Say what's up to the people.
So, listen, I'm chiming in because of the previous comments earlier. You guys were going on and on about Josh Allen and Mahomes, and would Allen be the kind of quarterback that Mahomes is with the weapons he had? You guys just went through a lot of points, man. But to hit on this point that you were just talking about with Tom Brady, I kind of think it's up to him. And I kind of think he's the kind of guy who doesn't want to go out like this. He was so close. He had the cusp of victory right there, and he got it taken away by Matthew Stafford, of all people. Tom Brady is a guy who has always played his career with a chip on his shoulder. He never seemed like a guy to me who wanted to go out on negativity. He could have went out on 7 Super Bowls anytime he wanted to, and he always decided to come back. Aaron Rodgers has made it clear that he doesn't want to come back to a rebuilding team. I don't think the Buccaneers are rebuilding. You get Chris Godwin back. You get your offense the way it was. You returned the most offensive player of any winning Super Bowl team, but you just didn't have it. The Rams weren't better. The Rams were not a better team than the Buccaneers. The last fourth quarter entirely showed about it. I think Tom Brady has the balls to say to his wife, I may not play till I'm 50, but I'm not going out as a chump, because I know Mahomes is up there. I know Allen is there. I know Herbert is there. I know Burrow is there, but I'm the damn GOAT. I'm going out as a winner. And when you look at the landscape of the NFC, you don't have that besides maybe one guy, two guys that stand out. You don't have that youthful exuberance in the NFC like you got in the AFC. So if I'm
but also at the same time, though, you got to be fair. Joe, at the same time, you got to be fair. Listen, there's no guarantees they get Godwin back. Number one, number two, because he may be too expensive. They've already come out and said it. We don't know who all we can bring back, so they may not. Like I said, it just depends on who they bring back as to whether or not, because they got 23 people that are not under contract, and what 23 are they going to bring back? What 23 can they afford, and what 23 are out there with a $10 million cap that can fit into that mold and make Tom Brady competitive, because you still got to short their offensive line. There's a lot of question marks.
You make a full valid point with the monetary value, but Tom Brady works magic. He's like
he's immortal, Joe.
He gets guys to come to his team or to stay on his team for league minimums, restructuring his contract. If Tom Brady decides that he doesn't want to go out as a chump, he can make it work. He got AB. A player that no team would touch, who ran off the field almost buck naked, and let Bruce Arians take him onto his team. So you have some kind of, to me, I don't care if you have nobody on the roster. If you go to an NFL player and you say, I got Tom Brady as my quarterback, okay, what do I got to do? Why do I got to be there? It's a QB-driven league, and Tom Brady hasn't taken a step back. You put the pieces around him, he's going to make every opportunity happen.
And to that point, that was another point I didn't get to mention, but I agree with you, Joel. We see this in the NBA a lot, and we're seeing it really specifically exclusive with Tom Brady. People are willing to take pay cuts to play with him, and he's been willing to take pay cuts to get people in. I think his reputation around the league is spotless. And so when I look at, a Stephon Gilmore, who's going to be out there, you look at Mike Williams, who's going to be out there, you look at Allen Robinson, there are replacements, I believe, for Chris Godwin. So I think there are opportunities and flexibility within the cap to replace a lot of these people, but I don't think it'll be the same. And I think the NFC is just going to get better. I don't think LA is going anywhere. I give Jay a lot of issues, but I think Arizona could be back into the mix next year with a healthy D-Hop.
Oh, God, don't inflate that one.
I think if Aaron Rodgers, and I don't have a lot of love for Aaron Rodgers, but there's places he could go. I think there's a lot of opportunity that would cause competition, but I still think they'd be the best team in that division regardless. And I think they would be in position to make another run because, to your point, Joel, his play didn't fall off. Like, even throwing the ball 1,000,000 times, he continued to perform at a high level. So I hope he comes back, but I do think it'll look different. But we'll see.
One thing
that's for certain.
One
thing for certain about Tom Brady.
We have Jay Nelson here now. Jay, say what's up to the people. What do you think is the next step for Brady?
Yeah, no. What's going on, everybody? But when it comes to Tom Brady, this is a different type of animal that, we haven't really seen. This is the only one of our era that we really dealt with this particular sport for sure. But he has the game plan. He has the key. He drives his own car. No one can tell him. No one can. Your opinions, it really doesn't matter with Brady because he's going to go out, and as long as he touches the field, the opportunity to win a Super Bowl is there. This is the first time that I can remember that there's not an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady in the championship round of the playoffs. And I don't know how long.
2009, 13 years.
2009, 13 years. So 13 years it's been since we've had a playoff championship round without a Brady or a Rodgers. I mean, that right there, should stay a lot. And then you come back, you minus out the Rodgers part, and Brady got a bunch of rings to go along with that. So at the end of the day, if Brady decides to come back, I think you guys said the same thing. I don't know. I don't care if he had Kirby, the Michelin Man, and Super Mario Brothers. I mean, he's still eligible for a Super Bowl run. Now, as far as that actual team itself, there's a lot of guys on the team, like let's say Leonard Fournette. He had a kind of a rebirth with this team. Right before he came to Tampa, he was looking down. Jacksonville was dogging him out. Other teams were kind of acting kind of the same without publicly saying that. but there wasn't a lot of buzz around Leonard Fournette coming out and getting cut from Jacksonville, which I thought was asinine because to me, any general manager, Leonard Fournette comes available, you go grab him until he can't walk anymore. You know what I mean? So then you got Godwin who stepped up. Mike Evans, to me, took a step back, and a lot of that had to do with the talent they surrounded him around. Surrounded around him. Then you had, Gronk's on his last leg too. So looking at this team going next year, they're divisional favorites, no matter what happens or who comes back, because Atlanta, Carolina, and unfortunately the Saints, they looked like D2 schools this year. The Saints look good at times, but the rest of them.
But the Saints really just didn't have that true quarterback. You know, when Winston kind of got hurt, they really kind of. And they didn't do too bad, given what they had 9-7 record. I mean, they did pretty well on it, or 9-8. They did pretty well.
Well, and again, I said at times because you're right, 100% right. The beginning of the year, the Saints looked legit. The Saints looked like, you know, they could make some sort of noise and possibly squeeze themselves into a wild card position. But losing Jameis Winston really, really, really hurt them and really put, a spotlight on where Drew Brees leaves that organization. So at the end of the day, though,
the NFC, it's hot trash at the quarterback position.
Excuse me?
The NFC is hot trash.
Hold on.
Listen, okay, here's listen. You got a few bright spots, but look at the AFC. It's the shining stars. It's the monopoly.
Name your top 5 quarterbacks in the AFC.
Wow.
Top 5 quarterbacks in the AFC: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. I can't even throw Baker Mayfield in there, but
Lamar Jackson.
You know,
gotta get him in there.
Maybe I'll squeeze in Baker, but still, the NFC is on a downward spiral.
Okay, so wait.
I put Carr in before I put Baker.
Yeah, I put Derek Carr in before
Derek
Baker.
Carr is a joke, man. He just gets dropped. He has some lucky weapons around him. He doesn't have the skills. He can't make that play.
He doesn't have the skills. He got him in the playoffs on a team that had no head coach
to make a great play in the red zone. And
real quick.
You went off the rails, Joe. So you went off the rails saying Carr is not. I mean, how do you not look at a guy who lost his number one wideout, who lost one of the cornerback due to drinking, lost his head coach, had to readopt a new coach, a new system, and still makes it into the playoffs and almost goes past the first round against Cincinnati. And you want to tell me he's not good? No, you went off the rails, Joe. Sir, you're off the rails. I need you to rate it. You're off the rails talking.
I didn't even put it. You know what? I put a guy Deshaun Watson in front of Derek Carr. He didn't even play last season.
But Joe, that wasn't a huge statement because I put Deshaun Watson up against a lot of the guys that you named. So, but switching it back over to the NFC because I think that the dog water that you're talking about doesn't exist over here, bro. Look, you got, and I'm gonna stay in one division. Russell Westbrook. Jim
Russell Westbrook is basketball, my brother.
I said Russell Westbrook. That's how bad you got me over here. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, and then Jimmy Garoppolo. That's one division.
Hold on.
You just
put Jimmy in there with all these quarterbacks you just named.
But my point was, Ray.
Hey, one at a time, guys.
My point was, Ray, that's one division.
Oh, you're right.
And,
you're okay.
And the thing was that in the AFC, honestly, there's not you fall out of those 6 guys. I'll give you Baker because just for the sake of the conversation.
Oh, I have to Lamar Jackson.
No, we named him for you. Don't worry. We named Lamar Jackson.
Ryan Tannehill.
We had your back there. I know you didn't say Ryan Tannehill. I know you didn't do that.
Hey, especially after his weekend.
He had a bad game, but let's not act like they didn't get the number 1 seed without the best running back in the NFL for almost half the year.
I thought we were talking about top quarterbacks, though.
Top 10.
You don't get any credit for having the best record in the conference against all those other quarterbacks we named?
No.
We're not putting Tannehill in that category.
I'm not
and
bashing.
he was down Julio Jones most of the year.
Ray,
Hey, listen,
I'm not trying to
I
take
get
the
he had
bait.
a bad
Hold on.
game, but let's not act
I
like
don't
he's
want to
trash.
take the bait.
the day we
Go
start
ahead,
talking about Tannehill being that good, we start losing our credibility as a show, and I'm not going to allow that
Tannehill's
to
better
happen.
than Jimmy G. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, right now, Jimmy G, unfortunately, still playing.
Go ahead, Coach.
But
You
let's
got it.
get the surprises. Has anybody not given what surprise or Brady topic? You done got me discombobulated on topics. Brady make what he's going next. Has anybody not spoken on Brady before you go to Rodgers?
Hold on. Let
All
Coach
right,
go
Coach.
quick.
No, let's get Coach in there. Coach, what's your thoughts on Brady?
To be honest with you, and I think me and Tony talked about it earlier. When Brady was at Michigan, it was battling for a spot. When he went to the Patriots, his fight was, hey, I'm gonna show you how great I am. Like, hey, I'm better than the 6th round draft pick. Like, that was his thing. When he went to the Tampa, it was like, okay, Bill, F you, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do without you. And then now, if you heard him after they won the Super Bowl, what did he say? Hey, let's 2-peat. Hey, let's run it back. Everybody come back. Now it's kind of one of those things like, okay, my kid's about to graduate. No, I'm sorry, my oldest is gonna be a freshman in high school. I got everything. Everybody says I'm the greatest now. I don't have to, so now I can kind of just chill. And on top of that, what people gotta realize, man, he's on a diet. Like, he does a diet. Like, he doesn't eat this, he can't do this. He goes to sleep at this time. He does all that film work. Like, his vacation time is usually mid-February to May, and then he got to start back up again with really coaching. So it's kind of like, I just want to enjoy my family.
I just want to ask him one question to follow up with that statement, because a guy who wants to focus on his family and who wants to move forward, do you think, and I know they mentioned this on the TV cast from the game, who's the one that you guys all think went into that locker room and said, I've been in this position before? I think a guy who is ready to retire and ready to spend time with his family and move on from his football career isn't the guy shouting at everyone in that locker room. And I personally think, and I don't have any knowledge of this, but it's just as a football fan, I think singularly, Tom Brady was the guy in that locker room that got his team back. Head coaches, linemen, whatever. Tom Brady spoke. He talked about that 28-3 comeback in the Super Bowl, and they almost made it happen. That, to me, and the look in his eyes on that field, doesn't seem like a guy who's close to retirement.
But again, I understand that. It's just one of those things where what is he playing for? Like, what's his motivation?
He's Tom Brady.
But that's the thing. He's the GOAT. Like that, he doesn't have a drive anymore. And that's one question.
Didn't look like this him playing on that field. He looked like he was driven as
Joe, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying now that it's over with, it's like, okay, because I'm not worried about it. Everybody keeps saying, well, they got all these free agents. Tampa Bay did a good job, especially with Jason Pierre-Paul. They drafted 2 pass rushers this year. So they're going to replace him. That's not an issue. They got another D tackle for Dominican Sue. Really, all they got to pretty much get is O.J. Howard. Chris Godwin probably might go for the low because he got a torn ACL. Because he might sit 1 year and then so he can really get his money the next year. Then running backs, you still got an opportunity to get running backs. Because running backs,
you still got Ro Jones.
No, he's a free agent too. But they're not.
But he's gonna go for cheap. Ro Jones is gonna go for cheap.
All these guys they're all gonna go for cheap. Like the free, and then on top of that, what people don't realize, we're 20 million we're 20 million under the cap. They already said the cap is gonna be another 25 million. So we got $45 million to play with. That's not
$45 million to play with, right?
That's not an issue with it. I'm not worried about the free agent part.
You're talking about a Brady team, and Brady's known for those 1 year prove it deals, those 2 year prove it deals for those players.
And Brady will take a $10 million. If NFL allowed him, he'll take a $5 million check.
Base salary.
Yeah, but I just don't know about like the biggest thing is I have to see over time because I didn't see that fire Usually you see like that fire at the end when he
He
talks
got
about.
his first unsportsmanlike penalty. What do you mean he didn't see the fire?
No, I'm talking about after the loss, after the game.
Oh,
Usually,
okay.
usually when you see him in those situations, you know he'd be like, "I'm coming back." Like I say, after he won the Super Bowl, he was drunk off avocado tequila. He said it. Let's run it back. Like,
Hey, but listen, there's one thing that I will say to Joel, to the point that you brought up. Remember this one thing: a champion sees it through the finish. So you'll never see signs of weakness. You'll never see signs of him giving up. You'll never see signs of him being tired of doing it until it's over.
Yeah.
And that's what he is, a champ. So regardless of the situation, when you're talking about what you're seeing him on the field, he's still doing his job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He might have put his 2 weeks notice in, but until that 2 weeks is up, he got his job to do. And that's the thing about Brady that makes him so successful and make the players around him turn a new leaf when they get on, get hooked up with him, is he demands a certain prestigiousness. He demands a certain status of excellence out of his players. And that's something that he changes the aura in locker rooms, and he changes the aura of way players deal and handle their own personal lives.
No,
You know what I mean?
All right, hey guys, we're gonna move on to the next topic. Listen, we'll go 8 hours on this thing. We'll do a whole marathon on Tom Brady. It's easy to do that, but let's move on to the next rabbit hole, and that's going to be about Rodgers and what's next for him. And I got to be honest with you guys, man. He had a very pedestrian performance, right? He did for 225, no touchdowns, no picks, and a 91 rating. Very pedestrian for this guy who's supposed to be, or who's going to get the MVP award, and is trying to protect his legacy. And this is the performance that he gives us. I think for Brady, like we mentioned earlier, just like Peyton Manning, he kind of got that fresh start in Denver, and then that just rejuvenated him. And I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers looks up for a place like a possible Miami or a Denver situation to rejuvenate and see what happens from there. Ray, we're going to start with you. What's next for Rodgers?
What is next for Rodgers? I think it could go a lot of different ways. I don't know what to really expect. Based on what I heard in his press conference that we've heard all year, he's not coming back to Green Bay. Nothing about that post-game presser led me to believe he doesn't want to be around for a rebuild. Well, I don't know what you expect is about to happen, but they got cap issues too. Devontae needs a raise. So Aaron Rodgers hasn't historically taken pay cuts. He doesn't seem to have the demeanor of someone that's going to take a pay cut to keep some people around. And they went out to Jimmy G. So I don't think that spells, we can run it back next year and improve on it and go anywhere. I think it'll be curious to see what opportunities open. I think the fact that San Francisco is continuing to win makes it harder and harder to get rid of Jimmy G. Someone commented on it earlier, but he's typically a below average quarterback, but he keeps winning. And it's hard to get rid of a guy that's winning. Like, even though when you might be winning in spite of him, you don't necessarily want to risk messing that up when you've been winning. So I think the opportunities that are better are limited. I don't know exactly where he thinks. I've heard people talk. I still think Freddie, our president, said he wants to New York. If Aaron Rodgers goes to New York, that's a dumb decision.
I welcome Aaron Rodgers to New York.
He doesn't go to New York. He's not trying to get in that
hey,
situation.
he can't go.
Miami fired their coach because they want to keep their quarterback. He's not going to Houston. Maybe you swap him for Russell in Seattle, but we've talked on here, is Pete Carroll going to get fired? So I don't even know where Aaron Rodgers really goes. That's a better scenario, but clearly in my opinion, it's been a failure in Green Bay.
New Orleans.
Green Bay, so do you want to potentially go and play in Tom Brady's division now with lesser talent? Like, that's a setup.
I mean, it is a setup, Ray, when you put it like that, but you just broke down the whole darn league, and there's nowhere really for Aaron Rodgers to go and just walk in. And first of all, he has to go somewhere where there's already offensive line, or there's no reason to relieve Green Bay. So you have to go somewhere with the offensive. Pittsburgh.
There's one spot I think y'all ain't talking right now.
But I mean, Pittsburgh's O-line was going to rebuild this year, though. That's why they couldn't run the ball.
All right.
All right, let's move it on to Tony. Hey, we got to keep this show rolling, guys. Hey, when it's your turn, y'all say whatever y'all got to say. Hey, Tony, where you see Rodgers going?
Retiring.
Okay.
Because, I mean...
I mean, hey, does he do it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think he does, because think about it. Like Coach said, he technically still has one more deal. Like, he can be traded now, but he's not a free agent. So he can't exactly pick where he wants to go. If he wants to go to Denver... if I'm Green Bay, I'm not just going to give anything up for Aaron. And how much stock does each of these teams have that wants to give it up for him? And like we kind of talked about, he's going into probably one of the toughest divisions just in the AFC if he goes to Denver, because you have to face Carr twice, you have to face Mahomes twice, and you have to face Herbert twice. You don't have a 6-game sweep of your division every single year like you do in the NFC North. You don't have that. You're going to struggle when you have to do that. And if you go to Denver,
you better go to the NFC East.
Yeah, right. Now, he could go to the Giants. As a Cowboys fan, I'm a massive proprietor of it because they have zero O-line, they have no offensive weapons, and they're absolute garbage. So please, by all means, please come to the Giants. I beg you, Aaron Rodgers, come to the Giants and end your career in a phenomenal way. Now, he could go to Washington. Washington would be an only viable spot to me that would make sense, where they have a decent O-line. He would have a good defense, a good defensive-minded coach to be able to help him. Now, again, he's only got one legitimate wide receiver in Terry McLaurin, so that sucks to suck. But, again,
unless they bring in somebody from the draft, they could draft a wide receiver. Maybe I don't know who's going to be available at that spot, but they could draft somebody.
Right. To me, I don't see any team that is going to give Green Bay the amount of basically return that they're going to want and completely destroy their future for Aaron Rodgers. And Freddie, stop it. No, they don't. Why did your $75 million wide receiver not catch a single damn touchdown, but your offensive lineman did? Absolutely not. Get out of here. Stop.
All right, we're gonna slide over to Coach real quick and get his opinion on where Rodgers is heading next and what's in store.
Either he's gonna be in Green Bay or he's gonna be in California playing Jeopardy, the host. Because that's it. There's nowhere else you go. They're not gonna trade you, because think about it. If you trade Aaron Rodgers, you still got like $18-19 million of dead money. So regardless of the situation, so why put yourself in more cap? Just F it. If all else fail, you could make it. Devontae, you can franchise tag him one more year. It doesn't matter because he's still on the team, so you can franchise tag him and he can still be on the team. You just be in more debt, and just try to run it back. I mean, we can sit there and say Aaron Rodgers don't pick where he gets to go. If he's trying to play football after this year, he's going to be in Green Bay.
Yeah, I agree with that too as well. All right, Joe, what's your pick? What do you got going for Rodgers?
I'm going way outside the box. The team y'all haven't talked about much. It's a team who has 2 top 10 draft picks. I mean, Devontae Adams is a free agent. There's a lot of free agents on the Packers. The New York Football Giants, man, they're going in a new direction with a new GM, a new coach.
That makes no sense.
That he didn't want to be part of a real rebuilding process, but if you put the people behind him, it's not really rebuilding. Put people he's familiar with.
Oh, it's rebuilding. It's absolutely unequivocally rebuilding. Let's not get that twisted. It's unequivocal. You got a running back that can't stay healthy. You got a wideout that gets overpaid and can't stay healthy in Galladay. There's no way that this team ain't rebuilding.
If you get his weapons and they have the draft capital, I'm just saying.
I don't think they have enough. I don't think they have enough. I think he's better off staying with Green Bay before he goes to New York. I don't think he pulls that trigger.
I think that's the easiest winnable division out there if he wants to be a winner. That's just my opinion.
So you would
say not the easiest winnable division.
Top 10 first for Rodgers for
Why not?
Year? For a year?
Maybe 2. You may get 2. You've seen crazier things in the NFL. You know, Ricky Williams were traded for multiple first-round picks. I'm just saying, you got to roll the dice sometimes. You got to try to get that home run.
Hey, real quick before I get off, I wonder what Dustin said. Dustin, he's still on the contract. Like he's still, regardless of the situation, he's still on the contract.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go nowhere. Like the thing about it is with the over the cap, you can't buy new people. You can keep the same people.
All right. Is that your official position? Where do you got it? Where do you got next for him then? Oh man, here we go.
Oh, what do I got next for Rodgers?
This is instantaneously a debate show now that Mike Hughes has officially come on board.
I don't think we heard from Jay Ness. Did you say anything?
Yeah, Jay Ness, you're up, man. Where you got Rodgers going?
Nah. So I'll be quick with it. I have really two spots that I think that are possibilities. I got the Raiders. I think that's a possibility, and I really hope that doesn't happen because I think Derek Carr is very, very, very capable of running that team. He did a very good job this year, and I said it many times on this network. To me, he's the man of the year as far as leaders are concerned. And then the other place that I have is a possibility of Aaron Rodgers trying to imitate a Dan Marino for his last bit of his career and end up in Miami. As just a possibility.
Hey,
but
y'all
my
got
last
COVID,
one,
man.
My last one I said was Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is the one.
Yeah, that's true. Pittsburgh got a
that
couple
he
of
could
weapons out
actually
there.
go there. Yeah, he can go to Pittsburgh and just jump into the team, and they don't have to do a whole bunch to
That
make them
division's
halfway
nuts.
competitive. It is nuts.
Could they
But again,
resurrect Chase Claypool? Could they resurrect Chase Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster and bring those guys back to life?
Get rid of one of them.
Yeah, I don't think they bring Juju back, but you're about to go to Cincinnati's division, and Lamar is definitely going to be on a mission. Like,
yeah, that's going to be rough.
Yeah.
And you're going in there with one real receiver and a inconsistent running game because the offensive line's not that great. I think that's asking a lot. I don't know what their cap situation is, but TJ Watt's obviously dynamic, so the defense will be competitive. But going to the AFC in general, I think is a tough opportunity if you're Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. All right, Mike Hughes, how you feel about it, brother?
I think he's taking his ass to the golf course, and he's going to stay there for a very long time. I don't think he goes anywhere, and I'm going to say shout out to Coach Victor Bennett because he's been preaching that to me all year long. But Randy Jowers was actually one of the guys when I looked at it and we were looking at the financial structures of everything. Green Bay, to me, can't afford to franchise tag Adams and get rid of Rodgers because that's over $48 million of dead cap space just by keeping one of them and getting rid of the other. So I don't know how they would make it work, but I think he just kind of either rides it out or he just retires at this point. I honestly think Pittsburgh would be nice. That's where I'd want to see him, especially with Tomlin. But I just don't see how it works.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, if New Orleans doesn't bring back Sean Payton, I think that team is just pretty much going to go through a rough time period.
Payton's going to the Bears.
Hey, you never know, man. Hey, he don't know if he's coming back or not, so we'll have to wait and see where that leads us. So moving on, speaking of coaches, right? Speaking of coaches, let's talk about these coaches that are up for grabs. I got Leftwich going to possibly the Jags. I got Caldwell. I still think he lands with Texas. I got Flores taking over New York, and then I got Bieniemy, Bowles, and Harbaugh possibly with Miami or the Raiders. What are you guys looking at for your coaches and these hires? We'll start off with Ray and go around the horn.
I think it'll be kind of crazy. None of the spots have been filled, and I'm hearing a ton of different names. I would be very curious to hear what Mike has to say about the list of Bears head coaches. It looks like it's been finalized. And I'm saying a ton of Mike Nolan. And I don't really understand why that name is on everyone's list, and he's in like 3 or 4 different teams' final option.
Who the hell is Mike Nolan?
He's an coordinator for Dallas last year.
Yeah, maybe he should stay that way, Tony.
Mike Nolan. I don't get it. I don't know if Dallas would be happy or not. I mean, they played significantly better this year than the year before, but I think that a lot of that had to do with talent more so than coaching and scheme. I feel like there was a number of times I wanted to see more out of Micah, and he was in coverage, or he was in places defending the run, which is not his strong suit. So I would like to see more. I haven't heard of Leftwich interviewing with a lot of places, but I think it's interesting. I think Bieniemy, the longer he is in, the kind of this situation with Kansas City, I think it's at a disadvantage. I saw someone talk about when interviews should start, and I do think it's tough for some of these. And Coach, you talked about the defenses. There's a bunch of coordinators doing a bunch of interviews leading up to championship and divisional playoff games. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's playing a role and some of the bad defense we've seen as well, and people not being ready. Tampa talked about how on the last play, the guy with not Shaq Barrett, I can't think of the linebacker's name that has the communication. He didn't know the play.
Oh,
how
Devin
do you
White.
how do you not know the blitz and you got the communication? I think we saw even in the Green Bay game where the special teams, they only had 10 people on the last play. Like we saw some gaffes. And I think a lot of that has to do with coaches taking interviews in preparation for the biggest game of some of their careers. So I think it'll be really, really interesting to see. I think there are some great opportunities out there. I like Minnesota. I like Vegas as a great destination. But I just think it go a lot of different ways. I'm not sure, but I am surprised we're seeing as much out of the Dallas defensive coordinator, considering his track record isn't great.
Yeah, I agree. And Tony, how you feel about it, brother?
Yeah, I mean, if Mike Nolan's name is getting out there, these teams are getting desperate, and you just might as well just go ahead and start your coaching search for next year because Mike Nolan is not the guy. I think a lot of people look at Dan Quinn just because of how quickly he turned the Dallas defense around, mainly through the takeaways, mainly because he was able to finally utilize Trevon Diggs and Micah Parsons. But you also have to remember, Dan Quinn has head coaching experience. He was successful in Atlanta. Not as much as last couple of years, but he did have success. He was even successful as an interim head coach for Mike McCarthy when he left. And I've kind of said this before to different people, and I know they sometimes they're not the biggest fans. Whenever I see a coach like Eric Bieniemy, and we talk about how the fact that he gets a lot of interviews, but nobody ever seems to really want to hire him. Me personally, I'm not going to be upset if Eric Bieniemy doesn't get hired by, say, like the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I say that because I don't want Eric Bieniemy to go to a terrible organization and not be given a chance to succeed. Same with the Texans. I don't want him to go to the Texans and potentially fail because we don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. Now, if he has Deshaun, okay, cool. That's, now he has a little bit more of a chance of success. But that's more than likely not going to happen. Exactly. And then I think a lot of times people kind of reach for some of these guys. You look at Kellen Moore, for example. What has Kellen Moore really done as the offensive coordinator for Dallas? You have Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and Zeke. It's hard to not be successful with them. Hell, I can't even remember the dude's name that was before him.
Jason Garrett?
No, the offensive coordinator.
Kellen Moore's been there for a hot minute, man.
Kellen Moore. It was the dude right before him that we replaced.
It wasn't Wade Phillips, was it?
No, Wade Phillips hasn't been there in years.
But Scott Linehan. Scott Linehan was garbage. Like he was great for Tony Romo. He was terrible for Dak. And that to me is where I think people tend to reach a little bit. If I'm Bieniemy to kind of complement the skill set and complement the quarterback play that I would be similarly used to, I would go to Miami. You can work with Tua. You have the good offensive weapons as far as wide receivers. You have a good young defense. You just need to hire a competent defensive coach on the other side. But to me, I don't see some of these. Dan Quinn I kind of get as maybe like, for a team that maybe is looking for more of a defensive identity. Like I don't understand why Denver's viewing him because I think Vic Fangio is a better coordinator than Dan Quinn is personally.
I agree.
Like I don't see why they're interviewing him. Like I don't see why Brian Flores would even entertain going to Houston. Jim Caldwell would be a perfect purpose. I think Jim Caldwell should be a head coach, period, because of what he was able to do with the Lions in such a short stint. He went 9-7 with them twice. He's the only head coach in Lions history so far, probably in the last 20 years, that has a winning record with them.
I agree.
Again, let this man have a job, but if I got to sacrifice not having Jim Caldwell for another year or Todd Bowles not having another head coaching job for another year to keep them out of a crap hole organization like Jacksonville, like the Jets, like the Lions, anywhere like that, fine. Let a team maybe like Washington, if they maybe move on from Ron Rivera, that has a little bit of potential and has some building blocks there to be able to build on. Let that happen. Say if Dallas moves on from Mike McCarthy, let that happen. Same with New
I
Orleans.
wish.
Like same with San Francisco if they move on from Kyle Shanahan. Like there are so many better opportunities. Like don't ruin your coaching career taking a chance to try to turn around a garbage team like the Jets. Like Robert Saleh is in coaching suicide to me personally because he's not going to turn around the Jets. It's not going to happen. But that's me personally.
All right, let's slide over to Coach. Coach, who you got going where, brother?
To be honest with you, man, it's a crapshoot. I wouldn't go to the Bears, and I'm not saying that because Mike is here. I truly believe. No, I truly believe that you got to have a GM.
You right.
Before you hire a head coach. I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. You hire a head coach and you don't hire a GM because they got to make sure they're both on the same.
Put the cart before the horse.
Yeah, that's one thing I hate what the Bears are doing. If the Broncos hire another defensive coordinator, that's 3 defensive coordinators in a row. And each year it hasn't been the defense, it's been the offense. So that's the dumbest thing. I'm just going off old boy from the Bills. He's either going to go to the Giants or he probably go to Miami. He has some kind of familiarity with Tua since he coached him when he was at Alabama. I think Brian Leftwich has been slept on. I think he's a great OC. Even when he had Winston, the numbers were good. Winston was just throwing picks. And now having Brady, I think Brady kind of taught him some things, let him see a little different things. Because even if you watch the game Sunday, it was a mixture of with Leftwich and what Brady can do with calling plays. Yeah. And he's young, he's energetic, he's gonna bring some excitement. And he, like I said, he got a Super Bowl under his belt.
All right, move down to. Oh, sorry. Did you have more, Coach? I apologize.
No, that's it. I'm just thinking it's like a lot of them is even with the Raiders, man. You gotta get a GM before you hire a coach. But if the Broncos get a DC, they stupid and they're gonna always suck. It is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, who you got going where, brother?
I'm surprised none of you have mentioned Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, you could say
that. I mentioned Harbaugh. I said Harbaugh could be possibly with the Miami or the Raiders.
But I think, and here's my thing. Harbaugh has such a relationship with Bears ownership that maybe they don't have a GM, but maybe Harbaugh kind of fills a John Gruden role in that kind of area. I mean, you have no further steps from Michigan. You have that young quarterback you can develop a la Colin Kaepernick. You can get some weapons. You can kind of control your own situation with the Bears. The Raiders, yes. And if y'all didn't know, he came into coaching 20 years ago with the Raiders. So that is a possible fit. But I'm thinking for the Bears job, Jim Harbaugh. I'm thinking for my Miami Dolphins, Brian Daboll. Love the way he does things. Tua's got some potential. And I'm thinking for the Giants, Brian Flores. As for the Jaguars, you guys mentioned Byron Leftwich. Love Trevor Lawrence. He had a poor season this year. Had flashes of brilliance here and there. But I think Byron Leftwich, like you guys said, doesn't get a lot of respect that he deserves, but I can kind of see it going those kind of way. As for Vienemy, I agree with some of you guys. I think he's going to get overlooked again. I don't think there's that perfect situation because not that I'm saying he's a bad coach. I think just with what he has in Kansas City, it makes him look so much better. And there's not that situation out there that can put him in the forefront. And you guys mentioned Jim Caldwell, perfect fit with the Texans.
All right. And there you have it, folks. That's our coaching lineup. Mike Hughes, I don't think I got you because you've been going in and out. Who's your coaching selections, Mike?
And
Mike has gone out once again, so we'll catch Mike on the later rip. So let's talk about which quarterback had the worst performance, Tannehill or Rodgers. And, when I look at Tannehill, he went 15 of 24, 220 yards, a touch, three picks, a sack, and a 66.7 rating. He had the tip pass. I don't know how you don't see the guy in front of you that got taken for a pick six. The first play of the game, he throws an interception. Stephen A. said Tannehill they need to get will not get this team over the hump. So even Stephen A. is saying like, hey, Tannehill's not your guy. He's not going to get you where you need to go. And I kind of agree with that. I don't think Tannehill does. I think he's supposed to be a game manager. That's his deal. And somehow or another, he took the game manager and turned it into turnover master And it's hard for Tennessee to overcome 3 interceptions, especially right off the rip at the beginning of the game. Who do you got, Ray?
For me, given expectation and talent, I go Rodgers. I think his performance was a bigger disappointment. The Titans lost by 3. They were in that game. They were driving to win that game. It was a bad decision, but by all accounts, he was on his way to beating this Cincinnati team as bad as he played. We saw a number of quarterbacks play bad. Jimmy G's team was able to overcome it. Unfortunately, the Tennessee Titans weren't. I thought bringing back Derrick Henry kind of threw a wrench in the system because I look at Derrick Henry was 20 for 62. Deontay Foreman was 4 for 66. I think when they had a more cohesive unit, I think they played better. And trying to integrate him back in, I think was a bit problematic. I thought he played pretty well when you look at what A.J. Brown did, and even Julio had a pretty good game. So I thought he played decent. It was maybe below average. I'll go below average. But overall, I think Rodgers, just considering he's going to be the MVP, considering for the offense was as healthy as it's ever been, to put up not even get 13 points, like that's just unacceptable on every level. So by far for me, I thought Rodgers had the worst performance given everything that's factored in.
Yeah, I can see that. Tony, who you got, brother?
Yeah, this is actually a tough one, and I say that because obviously the Aaron Rodgers hater in me really wants to hate on Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to say more of Tannehill, and I say that because Tannehill to me had more of a complete team. He had A.J. Brown, which A.J. Brown had a phenomenal game, so it's not even like we can say they shut A.J. Brown down. Julio has been kind of out really for the entire year. He's not the same that he was when he left Atlanta. He got Henry back, which to me, I kind of knew they weren't going to, really rely on Derrick Henry to be of that big, carry load back, considering he's just coming back from injury. But Deontay Foreman did fantastic for them. So I don't know why they didn't kind of rely a little bit more on that run game and alternate basically as a two-headed giant monster with Foreman and Henry. So to me, I would say it's more of Tannehill because that's really been Tannehill's whole entire style while he's been in Tennessee. We don't want you to have to make big throws unless you absolutely have to. You're kind of our game managing quarterback. We're going to rely on the run. You make the throws when you need to. That's it. You don't do any more, and definitely don't do less. And for me, I feel like Tannehill was more of a bigger disappointment than Rodgers. To me, again, that just shows Aaron Rodgers is a terrible postseason quarterback. Great regular season quarterback, terrible postseason quarterback, and is always going to, for quote unquote, crap the bucket. So to me, it's Tannehill.
Yeah, I agree. And I felt like he should have been fit in the mold of a Joe Flacco Super Bowl Ravens and a Trent Dilfer Super Bowl Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was really his mold, his niche. They had a good defense, they had a good run game. And that's all the formula they needed to follow was in those footsteps. And I think he tried to do more than what he needed to. That run game certainly should have been more prominent than what it was. Mike Hughes, who's the worst performance, Tannehill or Rodgers? All right, we're going to come back to you, Mike. Joe, who you got?
Yo, I got to go Aaron Rodgers. I mean, as you guys have stated, he's probably the next regular season MVP. Does he deserve it? That's a whole nother debate on another level. But I think with everything that was put on him, he knows in the back of his mind how terrible he has been in the playoffs. He did have his weapons. He had every opportunity. If the special teams wouldn't even been put in that position for a blocked field goal or a blocked punt had he made one or two more passes, Ryan Tannehill is Ryan Tannehill. I've seen him since he was with the Dolphins. We know what he is. We know what he's not. We know what he was when he came over to the Titans. He's a game manager. I think, don't bring back Derrick Henry and use that as an excuse that he should have been more of a game manager. They know how it takes to win. They beat the Ravens last year. They made their playoff run. Ryan Tannehill gets a pass based upon that. Aaron Rodgers doesn't. More is expected of him. He is the Aaron Rodgers. He is the MVP, and he completely left his teammates down. And you can't blame it on coaching this year. You can't blame it on McCarthy, LaFleur over the years. He's always had an excuse. This is, in my opinion, the first year where his play unequivocally puts him to blame point blank.
Yeah, and I think if you look at it from the impact of what each quarterback meant to the team, or what meant for their, for the overall presentation, then yeah, you have to kind of give it to Rodgers. So the bigger impact, I feel like, was let down by Rodgers. So I get you guys' point. All right, let's move on to the last topic for the NFL before we get into the NBA, and that was, what's the greatest NFL play? Was this the greatest NFL playoffs up to date? What we've seen over the weekend. And I got to be honest with you, man. Three games were decided by a field goal. One was decided by an overtime touchdown. I mean, damn. I don't know how much, like he said earlier, I think Vic was saying he's never watched all the games from beginning to end, but you had to watch all these games from beginning to end, or you just were missing out. Like, you were missing out big time. And that was crazy how close all these were, and just incredible performances, with the exception of Tannehill, but incredible performances, and maybe a little Jimmy G thrown in, but incredible performances by these teams. Ray, what do you got, brother?
No, I would agree, and I'll take it a step further for me. I would say yesterday, I think today's Monday. So yesterday might have been the greatest 2 playoff games I've ever seen on one day. Like, what I saw at the end of one, you have Tom Brady storming back to tie the game, and then 2 just absolutely boneheaded defensive coverages. One, he faked the D-back out of his shoes, Cooper Kupp did, and then how you leave Cooper Kupp, of all people, wide open, not once but twice in the game. Like, just the drama there. There were some missed kicks that were involved. They were talking on the telecast. They were talking up how great of a kicker Tampa had, and then of course he goes out and misses one. So it was just from start to finish. I was in here yelling and screaming, and I can't remember it being like that. That I can remember. I didn't have any interest. My team's awful. We're going to be picking a name here soon, hopefully. But just the competitive fire, and then to cap it off with Allen versus Mahomes, and that shout out to both of them. They made me a good amount like that. Definitely play, and it wasn't sloppy, especially in most of the games. There wasn't a ton of penalties. We didn't have a ton of issues with refereeing like we had the week before. For the most part, the players decided the games, and we had all different types of weather. We had absolute disaster of a kind of weather in Green Bay where it was super cold, and then we had great weather in Tampa. Like, everything you could really want, you got out of it. You had big plays with Brady to Evans versus Ramsey one-on-one. Like, it just – there was everything you could really want in the game. We had quarterbacks running for 30, 40 yards. OBJ got back into it. So I was just supremely excited by what we saw from start to finish on really every game. Because even though, Jimmy G was what he was, there was still a lot of drama there in the defense. You had a blocked field goal. You had a blocked punt. You had Rodgers with multiple opportunities to go make a play and win the game, and he absolutely fell on his face. Tannehill, for as bad as that late interception was, he had put them in position to win the game. A.J. Brown played great. Like, it was just premier athleticism, premier skill across the board on offense and defense and special teams. Like, it was just great. I just really can't say more than that, but I would definitely say that I can remember the best I've seen.
And I will tell you this: another 2 points what we saw during this weekend was we saw the GOAT and the imposter trying to be the GOAT both kicked to the couch, and we saw the emergence of a passing of the torch almost to the new reemergences of new quarterbacks. That's going to probably be the next big thing coming up, which would be Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. So we kind of see a passing of the torch between these guys, and it's amazing over the whole weekend, which is crazy. Tony, what you got?
Yeah, that was kind of my big thing. The two things that really stood out to me is the fact of how much Joe Burrow is able to carry the Cincinnati Bengals. The fact that he's in an organization that doesn't historically spend a lot of money in free agency. His offensive line is still crap. They did spend money on the defense, and they went out and got his favorite target from LSU, which has helped him tremendously. Luckily, they still have a great running back in Joe Mixon. So the fact that Joe Burrow has been able to take the Bengals all the way to the AFC North and win it. And now they're in their first AFC championship since 1988. Won their first road playoff game ever in franchise history, which is crazy. Says a lot to me about just Joe Burrow as a whole. The other thing that I think really stood out this weekend was really Matt Stafford, because while we talk about how the 49ers kind of, permanently ruin Aaron Rodgers' reputation, Matt Stafford is having to pick his up out of basically Detroit constantly. Because you think about it, all the years when he was in Detroit, it was always disappointment. He could never live up to expectations. It was always a bad franchise that never built around him. He never had a successful environment for a consistent period of time to where he could do something. His first year in LA, he wins the division. He goes and he shows a dominant win against Arizona Cardinals team that completely fell off and that they had issues against throughout the regular season and slumps. Then he turns around, he goes to Tampa Bay and beats the quarterback of all quarterbacks that we probably consider throughout the 100 years the NFL has been around, and beats the GOAT at home. To me, that this is more of one of those, it's going to show Matt Stafford's legacy more than anything, because Matt is out to prove I'm still an elite quarterback. I'm still a force to be reckoned with. Yes, I might have been stuck in Detroit, but I'm still the real deal, and you're still going to have to contend with me as a quarterback for at least another 5 or 6 years.
And the crazy thing is if you remember back to a day with Aaron Rodgers, and they asked him when he got drafted, hey, are you disappointed that you didn't get drafted by the 49ers? And he said, not half as disappointed as they were going to be for not drafting him. I don't think the 49ers, since they're still in the playoffs, are really disappointed. I think they're doing pretty damn well.
See, 0-4 in the playoffs against them. 0-4 when it matters. 0-4 when it matters.
So I don't think they're as disappointed as they think. And let me say this too. I think Zach Taylor needs mad props just as much as Joe Burrow does, because that Cincinnati Bengals team is 3/4 his picks, 3/4 his team. And so he is, along with Joe Burrow, he has transcended this team from the worst to one of the best. So my hat's off to Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow working in as a team. Joe, what do you got?
Listen, you guys are overcomplicating this thing. Let me make it basic for you. We all know we're talking sports heads. Whoa. I can give you all the stats just like you guys blurted off. This is point blank the reason why this is the best NFL playoff weekend I have seen in my 41 years of being alive. It is simple. I have an 8-year-old. I have a 7-year-old. Daddy, it's a 3-point game. Oh, it's going back and forth. I had girls at work telling me that they were interested in the game because it was so close. It was so basically played excellent football to the masses that everyone enjoyed it. We analyzed it. We sat there and we said the GOAT and the bullet pass and this and that. But everybody on a national level understood, wow, this team is down. Wow, this team come back. Holy cow, they kicked a field goal to win it. You did not have to be an NFL fan to enjoy this weekend. All you had to be was an interested party sitting next to someone who enjoyed football and could understand what was going on. Greatness. You didn't have to know anybody. Simply put, by the score and the entertainment value. And this is why the NFL is the best. Because going into this divisional round, and I don't know about you guys, I knew every game could go either way. I was not expecting game time winning field goals by visiting teams and an overtime thing. And everything that happened has the sports media talking. And that's fantastic. That's why we do what we do, guys. But what trumped this weekend is this is the first time that I have heard uninterested people who know guys like us who watch the games the way that we do, yelling and screaming and doing what we do, but who found entertainment value. And this is why the NFL is the most popular sport. And there's no doubt. And I can give you guys all the stats, and I can tell you everything that you just regurgitated, but entertainment. This was the most entertaining thing I have ever seen in an NFL game, and it related to so many people on so many levels. It was just astounding. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Well, first of all, Joe, I don't scream or throw things. I like my TVs just the way they are. Secondly, I didn't overcomplicate anything. That was Ray. Ray overcomplicates things. I just said the stats. So I don't know what you're talking about, this overcomplication, Joe. I'm offended, and I checked my emotions at the door before this show started. But that's another day and another time, and we will talk offline one day, Joe. But good take. But
Love emotions,
very
man.
good take, and very well said. Ray, let's get on to you, brother. And please don't overcomplicate this. Give me your opinion.
I gave mine. I gave the long-winded.
You already go? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you went first. I think it's just you up, buddy.
You went out and came back. Okay. I just didn't want to skip over you if I hadn't hit you. Okay. Let's go on to the last topic. Let's switch over to NBA, not last topic, NBA. So in the NBA, we got the Bulls get blown out by the Magic. How much trouble are they in? You know, I think you got to look at the Bulls for what they are, man. They're the number 3 seed. We knew they were going to go down to the number 3 seed, or at least they were going to take a couple of slots down because of Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball being out due to injury. So you knew that was going to happen. I think what gets me is when you compare it to a team like Memphis, who, you know, loses their players and actually wins games without their star players, and then you look at a team like Chicago, they lose their star players and they don't have that same comeback like Memphis Grizzlies do. So that might be the telltale that kind of hurts them a little bit. But at the end of the day, they got routed 114-95 by the Magic. DeRozan went off for 41 points and 11 of 13 at the three-point line. So, I mean, DeRozan's still doing his job. It's just they don't have enough from everybody else to keep up with some of the other teams. And, you know, and the Magic aren't exactly the greatest of teams. They're like 8 and 20 or something like that. I mean, they're down at the bottom of feeders. Huh? You said what now?
I was saying it's like the worst team in the NBA.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I do think for Chicago, you know, there's obviously they showed a lot of improvement. They've made the right, you know, they brought in some good guys and they've done well. But this team, in my opinion, is still not as well-rounded as a few other teams that are out there, like the Memphis Grizzlies and so forth. So I do think there is a little sense of urgency, but is it? I think it is what we thought it was going to be. When you took out these injuries, you knew they were going to get some lopsided losses. We knew they were going to go down a couple of spots, and I think you're just seeing how much Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball mean to this organization. Ray, what do you got?
I would say even to that, I'm not sold on them. Even then, like tonight, they had LaVine back, DeRozan was out, but they beat the Thunder by 1. So that doesn't lead me to believe great things on the horizon. But I think to Dustin's point, their schedule is favorable. So we will see kind of how that goes. But I think as we get closer to the playoffs, things are going to start to settle more. And I think they're going to be, I don't want to say outside looking in, but I don't know if they get past the second round, as we're seeing some of the other teams round into the form, Miami, Brooklyn, if they get everybody back and healthy. And even if they have 1 or 2 out, definitely Milwaukee. Until you beat the man, you can't beat a man.
Atlanta,
so
too.
I think Philly, if Philly can figure something out and Embiid stays healthy, I think they would give them a tough matchup. Cleveland played well again tonight, and I believe they got another W over the Knicks. So I think it's going to be tough for them. And I think you're saying that they need everything to really be cohesive in order for them to get it done. Because with Caruso being out, and I see somebody put that here, I think they're not a team that can afford to have pieces missing and go on a long run. I think they need everybody there playing at a good high level. And I just don't know if that'll happen, especially with what we believe COVID could be. So I think they're a good team, but I think we're seeing that they're not in that top tier of what the East has.
And you know what's interesting? Let me put out a real interesting stat before Joe gives his take. If you think about it, the number one team in the East, number one team Miami, has the best record of the East, is only as good or same as the number 4 seed in the West. Just gonna put that out there. That just kind of tells you where the East is. All right, what you got?
But we've known that for a long time. The West has always been a lot superior than the East. We've known.
I don't know, man. Milwaukee usually plays a little bit better basketball than what they're playing right now. So,
but you throw 1 or 2 teams in the East as compared to 4 or 5 teams in the West. So we know where it's at. And what you guys are talking about now, top tier East teams, it's obvious and clear. It's the Bucks, it's the Nets, it's the Heat. Can you put in Atlanta? You know, I mean, I just think the star power of those top tier East teams isn't what the Bulls have. I think, you know, the Bulls have done a tremendous job, like you said, but you lose a couple pieces and okay, well, the Bucks may lost somebody. The Nets lost somebody. The Heat lost Jimmy Butler for a minute, and they can still hang in there. I don't think the Bulls are at that range. And in terms of the 76ers, Embiid is MVP in my mind right now, and the way he has been playing has been amazing. But just the track record of the 76ers, I do put them above the Bulls, and they can round out that they're in the East in the top tier. But, you know, I think, like you guys were saying, come playoff time, we're going to see, you know, what teams rise. And I really think the top 3 are just right there. And you could put these in any order you want. Heat, Bucks, Nets right now. That's just me in the East.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up with our last topic of the night. Klay Thompson, knee soreness. Are the Warriors in trouble? Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now. Hey, that's what worried me with Klay, because he's got some pretty significant injuries that he's coming back from. He's got the Achilles, which is a very serious injury, and also the ACL, and now he's got knee soreness. I think I'm telling you, they really have got to do a lot better job with load management.
Look, I knew that word was coming up. I was waiting for that word.
Hey, Joe, hold your thoughts for a moment, okay? I'm gonna get to you. You're gonna get your full due. Calm down. Listen, of course they got to do load management with him. That's 2 significant injuries. And let me tell you something. If you never had knee problems or never torn ligaments, once you tear it once, you're more susceptible to tear it twice. So I'm just putting that out there. I mean, because your body ages when you tear things, especially to that magnitude. Anyway, Ray, what do you think, man? What do you think about are the Warriors in trouble with Klay?
I think they're in trouble either way. I haven't liked them since Klay's been back, to be honest. Steph hasn't been shooting well. Jordan Poole hadn't really found his rhythm. He finally seemed to kind of get back into form when Klay was out this last game. But I think they still at some point are going to need to integrate Wiseman back. Draymond's been out. They got a lot of big moving pieces that they're going to have to figure out how they work together. And I think what they had going on early in the year when they were on the run was everyone had a defined role. Everyone knew their role. Everyone played their role. Their minutes were allotted. And I think they were flourishing. And I think the return of Klay, trying to force feed Klay, get Klay back into the rotation, it's throwing everything off. And then on top of that, having Draymond out of the lineup when he facilitates a lot of the offense, I just think has been a bad combination. And we've talked about it, but I think I disagree with you, Joe. I think the East is better than the West, and I've said that quite a few times, especially from top to bottom. I think you could say Phoenix, Memphis, and Golden State definitely would be top seeds in the East. But outside of that, the West doesn't really have much. I don't believe much in Utah. Never have. Denver isn't it. And who else is there? The Clippers or Lakers, I don't have any faith in them either. So I think that'll be a benefit to Golden State is outside of really Phoenix and maybe Memphis. I don't think they'll really get threatened in the West in their run, which will allow them more time to get healthy and get things going. But at some point, you got to get things going. And I think Brooklyn ran into that last year when they finally started getting people back, but they didn't have time to condition. They started losing people again. And Jay, to your point, knee soreness isn't good. Like, I feel like they've dragged this Klay return. It was supposed to be Christmas at one point. then it was New Year's at one point, and then it was almost mid-January, and now he's already sitting for knee soreness, which I know they're going to be, overly cautious, but I think it's a bad sign. They need him on the court. They need them all playing together because in the playoffs, Phoenix is legit. So if they think they're just going to roll out of the bed and beat Phoenix, they got another thing coming. So I think they're still a top seed because they're in the West, but they got to figure it out, and I think it's going to take us some time.
All right, Joe, now's your moment. Let it rip.
All right, I'm going to let it rip.
No management. Let's go.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you for allowing me to come on here and give my points of view on everything tonight.
Absolutely.
So I do appreciate that, gentlemen. So thank you for that in advance. I want to put that out there.
We try not to overcomplicate.
All right. Well, listen, in terms of Golden State, man, everyone goes through growing pains. You bring somebody back, you got setbacks. It does happen. I think the tear that they've been on beforehand, that's a great thing. And people get cold. And in this type of NBA that you play with the shooting and the threes, you're going to go on some downfalls. But I think, you keep it up. You do rest them. You do that load management. And, if your view of the West is not as good as the East, then maybe they don't have as much to worry about. Maybe they only have to get healthy enough to beat Phoenix or to beat Memphis. And this injury doesn't kind of put them behind the 8 ball as they're already ahead. I think you rest them, you do the Kawhi 2.0 thing, and I think the Warriors will be okay. I'm not saying they're winning a championship. They're not obviously going to miss the playoffs, but you do what you got to do with Klay, and you make things happen. They are the Splash Brothers for a reason.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think if I'm the Warriors and he's got knee soreness, I'm definitely going to keep those physicians right there in my hip pocket because I tell you, when you get soreness like that, you don't know what the full extent of it is. And given his injury history, I don't know, man. I mean, hey, do you think we start doing MRIs? Do we start, overanalyzing it, or do we just let it rest and then hopefully that everything's gonna be fine? Or do you think that possibly that thing could go pop and then then we got no Klay Thompson, for another year or two?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely worst case scenario. And he's shown he was out 2 years because he came back and he had another injury. Right. So you definitely don't want that to happen. But I think Steve Kerr has his work cut out for him because they got a bunch of young talent that was playing really, really well. And right now they can't shoot. I watched them almost every night with League Pass, and they're just missing open shots. And Steph has been the ringleader of that.
He was 1 for 12 the other night?
Yeah. And I think I'm pretty sure they still won, if I remember correctly. But it's going to be hard to overcome that. So hopefully this is kind of just that lull in the season for him. But that team needs to get some kind of cohesiveness because they run into a Memphis or a Phoenix team early. I think they're going to have trouble. Dallas and the rest I'm not concerned about. But those two, they don't want to be playing like this when those teams come to town.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
All right, folks. We actually managed to keep this right at about the 2-hour mark, just under the 2-hour mark. That's phenomenal, given the amount of topics that we had to go through. And Joe, we do appreciate you coming on the show and giving us your points of views. And I'm gonna try not to overcomplicate this ending. Okay. I want to thank Mike, Tony, Victor, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Am I forgetting anybody?
Jay, Coach.
Yeah, Jake. I thought Victor's name was Coach. Okay.
So Coach, he might be.
I know, man. Hey, listen, I get them all discombobulated, but we want to thank Jay Ness and Coach and Victor, whatever, all these guys for coming on the show tonight and making it interesting. And we'll see you next time. I believe it's Thursday at 9:00. And I guess we're gonna I would imagine we're gonna do some AFC, NFC championship game talk and other stuff. So it's gonna be more excitement. And let's see, maybe I went. Listen, Ray, I went 1 for 4 the divisional round. Maybe I'll go 1 for 2 or 1 for 3. I don't know.
I'm going for the sweep. I'm giving you the winning picks on Thursday.
There you go. So you get everything, Joe. You get the winning picks, and then you can take those to the lottery and make $1 billion. Until next time, we're the Real Crew and Real Talk, and we'll talk to you next time. We out of here.
Later.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making up plays. We're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making a place. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.